finally, this is the last talk, and we have a rock star. Actually, he is a rock musician. Um, we have Ritesh Khokhar, and he started. So he is the CEO of Bridge Music Academy, and he's the academic consultant for music, rock and pop for Trinity College London, and he started many businesses and kind of a pioneer in music education all over North India, and I think the whole of India as well. He started his basic training, music training in Delhi School of Music, which led to his successful completion of grade 8 in piano and theory of music. So over lunch I came to know that he did not do the grades 1 to 7. He just jumped straight to grade 8 and he got that exam passed on the first go. That is like in karate, that means you're not doing through the yellow, orange, and all those colors. You just jump straight in and get your black belt. So that's how good a musician he is. And if you Google his name, there are a couple of Beethoven symphonies that he has played on the piano when he was younger with much less hair, and it's fantastic. You should listen to it. And he's also kindly somehow scrounged up this keyboard from the campus to play for us. And he also brought all the paraphernalia along with him. So, he's played in several jazz bands, a jazz band called Blue Funk, and then a rock band called Bandish. And he's also played in many prestigious events like the AO Church Ensemble for the President of India at the Rashtrapati Bhavan and the Siri Fort Auditorium with the Indian National Youth Orchestra. So he's going to talk about his journey in music training and education. Ritesh.
So musicians are supposed to be very good with improvising. What I was doing was spontaneously making choices in front of you, and you were just following me. If I ask one of you to do that, you would be able to do it, but there's a limitation of what you can do with that, right? So my topic is about music teaching and music performance and the elements of it and things like that. So I will just give you some insight into this, but I think the best way to talk about music is let the music speak. So I'll just start with a piece of music, and maybe I'll ask you some questions at the end of it. Yeah? Mic. Handheld mic. I don't know if this is working, but good. So what meter was that in? Waltz. It's a 3/4, so it's a 3-beat cycle, right? So what are the elements that make a performance? What are the different elements that I'm manipulating while I'm making music? We talked about how the whole brain kind of comes alive. What are the things that I'm using? So we have pitches to manipulate. We have rhythm. We have beats or the pulse of music, right? Something that you tap along, right? What else? Any ideas? There's a lot of coordination happening. There are two hands. Pressure. And how does that control music? What was I manipulating using my pressure? Dynamics. The volume. So I could have played this like this. My left hand is too heavy and it's kind of not allowing the melody to come out. And I have to keep the melody a little loud, so I would press a little extra on my right hand, less on the left hand, and they're both sometimes playing simultaneously, sometimes they're not playing together. The rhythms are what we in music call syncopated. So they're not really going with the beat. My right hand is using rhythms which are not going with the beat, and left hand is playing with the beat. Right, so we have dynamics. What else? Sorry? Accents, yes. I was stressing on the first beat, right? What else? There is something called the articulation. I could have played it like this. Now this is more disconnected. When I was playing, I was creating a legato. Legato is when you smoothly join the notes, more like a singing style, right? So I'm manipulating legato staccato, which is the articulation of the music. I'm manipulating the dynamics, coordination of the left and right hand, the pressure that I'm using. My left hand had two things to manipulate, the bass and the accompaniment. The bass notes are basically just doing. And then the accompaniment, which goes. So my left hand alone was playing two parts. Musicians sometimes end up playing four parts together, which in the Baroque language is called the fugue, where a single pianist is manipulating four different melodies simultaneously on the piano. So it is a very complex art form. No wonder it takes all the brain power to make it, right? But it's not rocket science really. It's not something that you guys can't pick up or understand. And I think obviously the schools have to come a very long way before we have the audience that really understands this like small nuances of music. And then we have more appreciative audience for the music that few of us get into, like classical and jazz. It's like very complicated form of music, but for an audience, it just sounds. Just to give you an example, in the 1940s, music went through something in the West and the Americas. They went through something called the hard bop era, where the music became really, really complicated, right? What happened? They lost the audience. They couldn't understand what was happening. It got so complicated. At the same time, there was bluegrass music growing on the side. There was Elvis Presley, kind of rock and roll, rhythmatized rock and roll coming up. And that was something that audience could really instantly connect with because it's very easy to understand. Jazz musicians started starving because of that. So then they had to cross connect and get into the fusion mode. So they took the popular music and they infused the elements of jazz with it. So there is some level of relatability for the audience. And then that's how they kind of survived. That eventually came to be known as the world music today, right? So this is how kind of music has evolved. Whenever it gets too complicated, there's very few people that can connect with it, and hence the whole market has to go through a big change, right? So let me get some of my pointers up. So I would like to talk about what music really means. We talk about emotions in music, right? So there are two main ways that you can create emotions in music. I would call them colors in a way. There is one which is Hindustani music based, which is rag based. Rags are called scales in Western music. We don't have as many scales as the Indian or the Carnatic music has, but we have something else to compensate for that, which is called the harmony, when two or more sounds are sounded together. And that becomes a very complex interplay of frequencies because each frequency reacts differently with another frequency. For example, if I play these two notes, the sa and the pa, they don't really clash, do they? They sound pretty smooth sounding together. But if I play something like this, there's a very major clash of frequencies right there. When I combine 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes to it, it can sound as complex as this. That's a C13th chord. And each note, if I change, I'll keep playing the same chord, and each note I change, you'll hear a change. If I change one semitone somewhere, it affects the whole sound, and the reaction to that frequency completely changes. So it's a very complex art form, the Western music for that matter, right? So what is, when I say a word, say a boat or a rocket in English, you immediately have a picture, something pointing going towards the sky, right? That's a non-Aryan definition of a rocket, right? So you have something like that going up in the sky. You immediately plant that picture. What happens when you hear a note? Or this one? Fact of the matter is, nothing. And that's what makes music very unique. Because what it can mean for me while I'm playing that piece, I could be imagining a dancing pig, right? And you might be thinking of a little girl just taking a stroll in the park, waltzing around in 3/4. So what it means to you can be completely different than what I have in my mind when I'm performing it, right? Because they're just sounds, and how you interpret those sounds is completely up to you. Depends on your experience with life, what you have been through, what you have seen. Like, for example, I remember this workshop that I attended on art at the British Council, and this lady came up, and she says that now houses don't have pointed roofs like that, typically in the urban areas. But whenever we ask a kid to make a house, they make a hut like that. Why do they do that? Because that's what they've seen. So you have had some experiences in your life, right? Maybe you've seen a dancing pig, I don't know. But you have been through different things. And when I make some sounds, you will create your own imagination to that thing, and that's how you connect to that music. And that is the main reason why you can never create any piece of music. The best of the musicians in the world have never managed to create a piece of music that is liked by everybody. There will be somebody who doesn't connect with it. There'll be somebody who's just madly in love with it. And there'll be somebody who can't stand it. And they will not have any real reason why. Just that they can't come up with imagination that really connects with them, or they enjoy that imagination. Maybe it just triggers a thought that they're not very fond of, right? Maybe it just reminds them of the ex-girlfriend or something, I don't know. But it just sometimes happens. Sometimes you just fall in love with it without having a reason. It just connects with you somewhere within. And that's the mysterious power of music. And I, like, with all due respect to Hegde ma'am, that fantastic researches have been done, and they have, to a point, proved that music is a very powerful thing for all human beings. But sometimes we just need to look at it a little organically, because there's a limit to what science can also figure out till date. Maybe at some level, it'll go to a point where you can precisely pinpoint if you play a C13 sharp 9 chord. I don't know what will follow after that, but maybe science will reach there someday. But that day is not close. That is for sure. So what we know for sure is that music has a very positive impact on the way our brain functions, and it is definitely going to have a big impact on the way we think and how we work, how we organize our lives. These are called disciplines, because that's what it takes to learn any art form like that. I took my diploma exam 2 years back, and it came back with the QCF 900 points. Now, QCF is a quality control framework in UK. And what it denotes is that each credit means 10 study hours or learning hours on your instrument. So that means I have to execute that level of music. I must have spent at least 9,000 practice hours on my instrument to reach that level. I'm sure I've spent a lot more, because that is only the classical domain, and I've done equal amount of work in the rock and pop and the jazz side of it. But you don't have to get to that level. There was a podcast that I was listening to, this ethnomusicologist who was traveling to Amazon, studying with the tribe there, and he played the clarinet, right? So he was there researching on this, how these people live and how the cultural music is, folk music is, and all those things, doing a research on them. In the evening, they lit a fire, had a feast, and said, let's dance and sing around it, right? So everybody was, like the tribals do, they're just dancing around and singing and all. They came to him and said, hey, come on, sing along with us. He said, sorry, I don't sing, I play the clarinet. And they said, it's like somebody with perfectly two good legs saying, sorry, I can't walk. If you have a voice, you can sing. So at a grassroots level, music is something that belongs to everybody. And I am of a belief that if you listen to music and you enjoy any form of music, you are a musician at some level already. But there are some basic skills that you should and must polish to get to a later level where at least you have a foundation to build on. A lot of us obviously have been through a very difficult academically rigorous past in school, getting to the IIT, and coming to IIT, obviously attending lectures and doing all your thesis and whatever work you do. It's very time consuming, takes almost everything out of you. And I have trained people in my experience who were 50, 55, 60, and they just didn't have the basic sense of rhythm. And even after years of training, I couldn't get them to do the right thing. They just couldn't take off. But I have had people who had some training of music in their early life, in their school, college life, and even when they come back at the age of 45, 50, they're able to take it off from there. because the basic survival skills with music are there intact, right? So I'm going to treat this like a small little music class for you, right? So I'm going to not talk about, because I think a lot of talk has already been done. I'm going to involve you in some activities that will help you understand music better and maybe help you do some activities by yourself that will actually strengthen your basic skills in music, right? So just sitting where you are, I'm just not going to make you work too much physically, but everybody has a voice, yeah? That means everybody can sing, right? Going by the theory. So and sing along. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Lovely. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to divide this class. Sorry, I suddenly appointed myself as a professor. So I'm going to divide this class into two parts, the right side and the left side. On the right side, you're just going to snap your fingers on the 2 and 3. So it goes twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. You got the idea, right? With the left one, you're going to do this. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Got it? Good. So you're going to snap on the second and the third beat, and you're going to do that. Right? Let's start. One, while you sing the song. So I want to hear the song sung loud, right? Two, that's fantastic. Now, everybody, please, don't be flattered, it's not over yet. Please stand up, everyone. Now, what we're going to do is, I'm going to mirror you. So, you will start walking with your left foot. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep walking with me. 2, 3, 4. Keep doing it. 2, 3, 4. You know what to do with your fingers and claps, right? And we have to sing the song, right? Keep doing it. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Okay, I'll leave you with that for now. So, what was the rhythm that we clapped? Right? Now, it's very easy to imitate rhythm, but there's a little language of music which looks like Greek. It's like an ant walking, dipped in ink, walking on a paper, literally, right? And I'm sure a lot of us are curious about what these people do, reading music that, let me just zoom in and show you this. This is what the music kind of looks like. You must be wondering, how do you read this stuff, right? So I'm going to teach you that today. Little bit, not much, right? So let me teach you the basics. There's a note that looks like this. It's called a ta. Ta. And there are two notes that are joined by this little dash up there. They are called TT. So TT is spoken in the same time that you take to speak a ta. So I'm going to start speaking this and you can join me anytime you like, right? I'll just speak the first line to go with. Once you're comfortable, then we'll go through the whole thing, right? So it goes like this. Join me whenever you feel comfortable. Ta, 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 ta. Ta, ti, ti, ta, ta. Ta, ta, ti, ti, ta. Ta, ti, 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 ta. Ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta. Ti, 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 ta. Ti, ti, ta. Congratulations, you can read music. It's simple as that. Simple as that. In 10 seconds, you know how to read music already. You've just learned two words in music. One is called ta, the other is called titi. So we will go through this, and I'm going to teach you maybe one or two more words today, for now. And I'm going to leave Dhwani with a book that she can use. This is a book I wrote in 2010, which is based on the Koda education system, which is a very popular teaching method developed in Hungary, which is adopted in Australia, Europe, and America. It's a really popular method. And it's being changed slightly because the original method is 13 different syllables to speak, which can be quite a tongue twister for us. So I've squeezed those 13 down to 6, so it's much easier to speak those things, right? But you will see the difference of those 13 and 6 only when you go through the whole book, right? But for now, I'm just teaching a few words. So let's follow the red dot and go through this whole thing. Ta, 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 ti, ti, ta, 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 ti, ti, ta, ta, ti, 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 ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, 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 ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, ta, ti, 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 ta, ta, ti, ti, ta, ta, ti, 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 ta, ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, 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 ta, ta, ti, 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 ta, ti, 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 ta, ti, ta. Brilliant. What you may not have realized, music revolves around the principle of building tension and resolving it. If I play a scale which goes like this, sounds complete. What happens if I stop on the 7th note? Listen. And you're dying to hear the last note, isn't it? I'll give it to you. So that was a melodic tension. Similarly, we can create harmonic tension, which if you hear something like this, you want to hear? That was the harmonic tension. So I created a lot of tension, and then you just wanted to please resolve, right? It's like a movie which has paused just 10 minutes before the ending, right? So similarly, we can also create rhythmic tension, right? So all these three tensions can put together, create a lot of tension, obviously, and then it can resolve that much better. It's like any form of entertainment. They create, how do movies work? They work on a formula. There's a very normal boy, there's a very normal girl, they fall in love. I don't know why. And then they're chased by their families, the villains jump in, and all of this happens. At the end of it, either it's a sad ending, they both die, or they get married and it's a happy ending at the end, right? But we all want to see the end. We just start reading a book, and our target is to get to the last page, so we see the ending of it, right? So that's how any form of entertainment works, and music is no different than that. So why I'm telling you this concept of tension and resolution is because what nobody notices, there are questions and answers in this rhythm right here. So this space from, you can see the short lines, that's basically marking the end of the rhythm cycle. So it's a 4-beat cycle, right? That's why it's written 4, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. After the short line, the one returns. 1, 2, 3, 4. Short line again. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. It's a cycle of 4 that rolls up over and over again. The space between these two lines is called a bar, right? So there are a first bar and a second bar and a third bar and a fourth bar. The way I have written this book is the first 2 bars is the question and the next 2 bars is the answer. So class, right and left, you're going to speak the question, you're going to speak the answers. So I'll point out, don't worry, I'll help you out. right? Here the stems are gone upside down. Doesn't matter. It works the same way. Let's start this. So you are going to speak the first two bars of each line. So this bar and this bar is for this side to read, and this is for that side to read. And you will see how your question is kind of answered in the next two bars every time. Let's do this. Ready? Go. T T T T T T ta ta T T ta ta T T ta 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 T T ta T T. Question. T T T T T T T T ta ta T T. Answer. T T T T T T ta T T T T ta. Question. Ta T T ta T T T ta 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 T T T T T T T T ta ta. Ta ti ti ta ti ti ta ta ti ti ta ti 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 ta ti 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 ta. Could you feel the question and answer thing? Yeah. So how did I do that? How did I make the last two bars sound like an answer? Huh? Ending with ta. Even the first phrase is ending with the ta. I took the opening and I copied that. T T T T. It starts with the T T. If you start with a long note, I typically would start with a long note, but I would take the rhythm elements of this and just change the order slightly, so it's taking elements of it. For example, if I go like something like this, T T T T ta, sorry, T T T T T T ta, ta T T ta ta, and go after that I go tiki 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 ta, tiki ta. Now that doesn't sound like a question to the answer to the question. It's like, what is your name? I like to climb Mount Everest. It has no connection, right? So you need to connect the two. So the elements that you use in the question phrase are the same elements that you use in the answer phrase. That doesn't work differently with melodies or harmony for that matter. If I take the first two bars of the most famous pieces of music and put them together, two bars from each, will I have the best music in the world? It won't work, because the consistency is the key. One element of music composition that every composer uses around the world, and I'm talking dating back to the evolution, the beginning of music till date. Can anybody guess? Which is one compositional element that every composer, irrespective of the genre of music, uses all the time? And no, not tonic note. There's a lot of atonal music, by the way, out there. Stravinsky, Prokofiev. There's no sense of tonality to it, and that was the whole idea of it. Yes? It's a very obvious answer, which is why I'm asking you. It's called repeat. Every composer, every piece of music repeats something. Either they'll repeat the whole harmony, or they'll repeat the whole rhythm somewhere, or they'll repeat the melody line many times. Entire Bollywood industry is surviving on repeats. Come on. Right? So I'll teach you another word. You like tiki? Alu tiki? So we have tiki tiki, right? So this is sound like this. I'll just speak the first line so you get an idea of the new word. It goes ta ta ti ti ta ti ti tiki tiki ta tiki tiki ti ti ta tiki tiki ti ti ta. Now those of you who may have seen bigger, longer notes like te, it's a very long note, right? Why am I not using those notes? Those are perhaps the first notes of music that you typically read. Why am I not using those longer notes? They might feel very easy for us to do it, but little kids actually imitate the running rhythms much faster. If I ask them to clap the rhythm of this, they will go, but if I go like this, they lost already, they don't know where the one is. So running rhythms actually come more instinctively to learners than the longer notes, because then the pulses and the impulses are shorter with the kids and they lose sight of where the longer pulses go on. So this whole system was created around how to teach kids effectively. And we are all kids. There are only two kind of species of human beings that play, the kids and the musicians. Right? We play music. Kids play games. Everybody else studies, perhaps. I don't know. Right, so you got the tiki tiki? Can we try this? This one's going to go a little slower because tiki tiki takes a little time to speak, right? Just follow me. Ta, ta, ti, ti, ta, ta, ti, ti, tiki, tiki, ta, tiki, tiki, ti, ti, ta, ta, tiki, tiki, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, tiki, tiki, ti, 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 tiki, tiki, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, tiki, tiki, ti, ti, tiki, tiki, ta. Question. Ti, ti, tiki, tiki, ta, tiki, 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 ta. Ti, ti, ta, tiki, tiki, ta, ti, ti, tiki, tiki, ti, ti, ta. Question? Tiki, 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 ti, ti, tiki, tiki, ti, 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 ti. Answer? Ti, 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 tiki, tiki, ti, ti, tiki, 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 ti, ti, ta. Brilliant! You guys can give a round of applause to yourself. That's amazing. You want to do one more round of this? Okay, this is an experiment. Okay, I have not done this before, but I hope you will be able to manage this one. What we're going to do is, every time we see a ta, we stamp our foot on it. Don't speak it, right? So this will go like this. Tiki, 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 tiki. Tiki, 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 tiki. Okay? Question and answer, right? Question and answer. So you're going to start with the question, and every time you see a ta, right? It can, you know, the easily it can get more complicated, right? But I'm not making you do that. So let's start with this. Ready? 2, 3, go. T, 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 tiki, tiki, T, T, tiki, 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 T, T. Tiki, tiki, T, T, tiki, tiki, T, T. Tiki, tiki. Tiki, 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 tiki. T, T, tiki, 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 T, T, tiki, tiki, T, T, tiki, tiki. T, 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 tiki, tiki, T, 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 T. T, T. Tiki, tiki. T, 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 tiki, tiki. Tiki, tiki, T, T. T, T, tiki, 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 tiki. Tiki, 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 T, T, tiki, tiki, T, T, tiki, tiki. Brilliant. That is amazing. So, is this difficult? It's not difficult, right? You guys are attempting this exercise for the first time and you're already manipulating how you produce the sounds, right? So now what we can do is, okay, not, not making you do anything different. I was thinking of making you maybe clap on the TTs and just let it be. So is there anyone brave enough to attempt singing the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star while, okay, just kidding. I don't think even I can do that. So can I have the audio of the computer? Computer का audio है? Found it. Cool. So just to drive the point home of what ma'am was saying, this is a video which has been on the YouTube for a long time. And I've been using it as a substitute for Mrs. Hegde's absence in all these workshops that I've been doing. It's, ma'am, you can verify if this is absolutely up to date and correct, right?
Did you know that every time musicians pick up their instruments, there are fireworks going off all over their brain? On the outside, they may look calm and focused, reading the music and making the precise and practiced movements required. But inside their brains, there's a party going on. How do we know this? Well, in the last few decades, neuroscientists have made enormous breakthroughs in understanding how our brains work by monitoring them in real time with instruments like fMRI and PET scanners. When people are hooked up to these machines, tasks such as reading or doing math problems each have corresponding areas of the brain where activity can be observed. But when researchers got the participants to listen to music, they saw fireworks. Multiple areas of their brains were lighting up at once as they processed the sound. took it apart to understand elements like melody and rhythm, and then put it all back together into unified musical experience. And our brains do all this work in the split second between when we first hear the music and when our foot starts to tap along. But when scientists turn from observing the brains of music listeners to those of musicians, the little backyard fireworks became a jubilee. It turns out that while listening to music engages the brain in some pretty interesting activities, playing music is the brain's equivalent of a full-body workout. The neuroscientists saw multiple areas of the brain light up, simultaneously processing different information in intricate, interrelated, and astonishingly fast sequences. But what is it about making music that sets the brain alight? The research is still fairly new, but neuroscientists have a pretty good idea. Playing a musical instrument engages practically every area of the brain at once, especially the visual, auditory, and motor cortices. And as with any other workout, disciplined, structured practice in playing music strengthens those brain functions, allowing us to apply that strength to other activities. The most obvious difference between listening to music and playing it is that the latter requires fine motor skills, which are controlled in both hemispheres of the brain. It also combines the linguistic and mathematical precision in which the left hemisphere is more involved, with the novel and creative content that the right excels in. For these reasons, playing music has been found to increase the volume and activity in the brain's corpus callosum, the bridge between the two hemispheres, allowing messages to get across the brain faster and through more diverse routes. This may allow musicians to solve problems more effectively and creatively, in both academic and social settings. Because making music also involves crafting and understanding its emotional content and message, musicians often have higher levels of executive function, a category of interlinked tasks that includes planning, strategizing, and attention to detail, and requires simultaneous analysis of both cognitive and emotional aspects. This ability also has an impact on how our memory systems work. And indeed, musicians exhibit enhanced memory functions, creating, storing, and retrieving memories more quickly and efficiently. Studies have found that musicians appear to use their highly connected brains to give each memory multiple tags, such as a conceptual tag, an emotional tag, an audio tag, and a contextual tag, like a good internet search engine. So how do we know that all these benefits are unique to music, as opposed to, say, sports or painting? Or could it be that people who go into music were already smarter to begin with? Neuroscientists have explored these issues, but so far they have found that the artistic and aesthetic aspects of learning to play a musical instrument are different from any other activity studied, including other arts. And several randomized studies of participants who showed the same levels of cognitive function and neural processing at the start found that those who were exposed to a period of music learning showed enhancement in multiple brain areas compared to the others. This recent research about the mental benefits of playing music has advanced our understanding of mental function, revealing the inner rhythms and complex interplay that make up the amazing orchestra of our brain.
So I don't know how much of that is true, but I like the fact that he said the research is fairly new, right? And yeah, I think this whole video really drives the point home. The benefits of learning music are very unique, and interesting part is that it is the learning to play the musical instrument that makes it unique, and not just singing or listening to music, because the motor skills are involved with playing the music. And this, not this particular instrument, but piano is considered one of the king of all instruments, because the kind of coordination you need to play the piano, I don't think any other instrument demands that kind of things, because you have to manage like two pedals typically, you have two hands, and there's music written for four hands also, where two people play together on the same piano. And each and every note is precisely, like live piano performance is supposed to be, it's considered the most difficult art form in the world, because of the precision it requires, that each and every note is decided from before. And you're playing like 30, 40 minutes, 2 hours of programs like that. Each and every note is kind of mucked up. Also, the enhanced brain functions that the study that they did, I read somewhere that the result of the people who were exposed to musical learning or musical instruments, they showed a higher reading in just 20 days of exposure to musical instrument learning. Just 20 days. It doesn't take a year to do that. So you can well imagine the benefits of learning to play a musical instrument are pretty real. And it's surprising that the government of India and the other countries for that matter, I'm pretty much involved with the National Association of Music Education in US. Everybody just somehow tries to cut funding towards the arts education in school. And I think that's the reason why this new study is coming out. This is so stupid. I don't know why, because the benefits are going to come back to the government at the end of the day. Right? You're cultivating better youth, which are more capable and they are able to achieve better results. They'll be emotionally stable. They'll be more social. Everything is just a plus for everybody. I don't know why they do that. I have a lot of content which I can't really go through today, which is the evolution of music. But what I would want you to do is, I'm going to teach you a song to sing, which is not as simple as Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, right? It's a little complicated, but it's a lot of fun. So we'll do that song, and after that, I'm hoping that you will have questions for me, because I'm addressing to an audience where I don't really know what you need from me. I may have a lot of answers which I have not given you right now. You may have questions. So I'm going to teach you a song, right? And after that song, if you're done with that, then you please gather your questions and please ask me anything that you would want to ask a performer or a seasoned teacher, maybe some case studies, working with autistic kids. I don't know, whatever questions you may have, please ask, because I have experience of dealing with pretty much a lot of this stuff, right? Networking, German 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 networking, German, working German, working German. Networking German, networking German, networking German, networking German, networking German, networking German, network. Simple, right? So let's do this. So as a guide, I'm going to point out the syllables that you need to start singing on for the next line. So we have to loop the song till the time we finish with the line Danger Man at work. Danger Man at work, Danger Man. 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 At work, German at working, 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 German. Man at work, danger, man at work, danger, man at work. Brilliant. So this is a song that you can go home and teach your friends and have fun with it, right? It takes you to practice to get this right, but it's a lot of fun. What we were doing, that we had a beat cycle of 4 beats, but we had 5 syllables there. So when we loop it, there's one extra syllable that tosses the whole phrase around. And then you have to sing the whole tossed phrase over and over and toss it till you get it right in the right sockets. Right? So, yeah, questions please. Not about the song, please. Let me see that. Okay. If you have time, I can go on with something very interesting. Sure? Yeah? Alright. So, what makes the music interesting for us? If I start playing jazz for you, you may not connect with it. But if I play something like, whatever. What is that? But if I do something like, what was that at the end? Right? You don't connect with that. Maybe you've not heard that before and you can't connect with it. So, what makes you connect with music? What makes any form of music pleasing to you? How can you appreciate jazz? Or how can you appreciate Carnatic music or Hindustani classical music? How? Yeah, obviously, that is the obvious answer, but how is the question? How? How do you listen to music? It's a really important question to answer. Mm-hmm. Right? Exactly. So now we are in the age, like when I was growing up, I know I look very young, but when I was growing up, we had cassettes, right? So we would take this tape and listen to it entirely through because it was just too painful to rewind anything or forward anything, and you can miss the starting of the song and things like that. So we listen to the whole album. Then the band comes out with a new album. We listen to the whole album again, and we kind of see the evolution of that band, the journey through the music, how a particular song is evolving, the hits that evolve. There are 5, 6 average songs before that kind of culminate into that hit. We could see that whole journey because we used to listen to the whole album. I share an experience. I was playing with this Chicago-based jazz band in many years back, 2004, I think, yeah, 2001. So there was this bass player, Pinnell Johnson, was there. He's a Conklin endorsee, had a bass guitar, was worth $7,000 at that time. And he says, Ritesh, I'm interested in Carnatic music. And I was learning Carnatic vocals that time. I said, yeah, I have a lot of music, I'll get it for you. So I took a small bag full of cassettes and took it to him. I was like, hey, Pinnell, here's some music for you to listen to. He started just kind of fumbling through that thing. I like, you can keep all of it. I have plenty of more music at home. I like 600 cassettes. So he's like, no. He pulled out one cassette. He said, no, this week I'm going to listen to this. It's like, why one cassette? You can take all of it. There's so much more music. You have 1 week. There's a lot of time, right? He says, look, each piece of music or each album is like a new city for me. If I drive through it, I know nothing about that city. But if I live in that city for a while, I know where the tastiest golgappes are. I know where the famous monuments are. You know the history of the city. You know the evolution of that city. You understand that city really well. So the music that we can relate to and connect with is the music that we've heard the most. And today, because we have the streaming music facility, iTunes and the hit channels and podcasts and the playlists and all of those things, we typically listen to one song once and just never perhaps listen to it again. And even when we listen to it again, most of the time you will not even recognize that you've heard the song before because you have no recollection. You have not heard it to a point where you made that relationship with that music. So that thing has kind of gone away. Also, the other thing is connect with the musical experts now because of the internet. Well, you can connect with me if you like on Facebook or Twitter or whatever you want to do, right? There are ways to connect with great musicians who are out there, right? And just check with them, where should I start listening to it? If you're listening to Carnatic music and you start listening to Yusuraj, you're dead. You'll not understand what hit you. If you're listening to jazz and you start with John Coltrane, you're gone again. You have no idea. Elvin Jones, oh my God, this is just crazy. Sonny Rollins, you will not understand any of it. But if you start listening to Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong, Lena Horne, right, the right singers where the jazz roots are, then you know what you're trying to listen for. And then you see the same song evolving with different musicians and how they're playing with it, then you'll be able to appreciate that music. So there's the right place to start listening to any form of music. So you need to identify who are the artists to start listening to and spend some time with their music so you understand the song. If you're suppose starting to listen to jazz, I'll tell you my experience. I learned it the hard way. Somebody gave me a cassette of Cooking with Miles Davis. Miles Davis is a legendary jazz musician, trumpet player. I think the only jazz musicians also listed in the classical dictionary of music. And I heard that cassette and just went like a comet in the sky. Just couldn't understand, had to tell what happened. So I heard it 2-3 times and I gave it back. I said, sorry man, I can't understand this. He says, take this back, listen to this once every day for next 1 week, and then if you don't like it, give it back. Fair enough. Senior musician. I said, fair enough, sir. I shall take your advice. I went home and never returned that cassette after that. Because I made that connection. I understood what the city is about, what is the geography of it, what is the history of it, what is the evolution of it. And till date, it has become one of my favorite things. Like I feel nostalgic when I listen to it now. Because I started listening to it 20 years back. It was amazing. Then I discovered James Brown. Maybe watch a documentary on that form of music so you understand where it's coming from, who are the roots, who are the musicians who started it, pioneered the whole thing. Start listening to them and then you will understand the evolution of it and then you'll be able to connect with that music, right? So challenge to you guys, take one form of music that you don't understand at all. Find where you should start listening to. Who are the initial artists who started that genre, who were the pioneers in that genre of music. Take one album, listen to it for a week, and see if you can explore further into that genre of music. whatever it is. Maybe funk, maybe soul, maybe R&B, maybe reggae, maybe jazz, Latin jazz, Afro-Cuban jazz, swing, Afro-Cuban, whatever, right? So take that back, maybe Carnatic music, maybe Hindustani classical. Hindi classical also has styles like Thumri, Khayal. You need to understand what those are and see, take one thing, do a little research on Google, where you should start listening for it. You'll find forums where people have posted the advices on those things and start from there, right? Questions, please. Anything that I can, yes, please. Mm-hmm. Instrument, I would say that listening is the key to choosing an instrument as well. When you are, suppose you're listening to Steve Vai and Joe Satriani a lot, then obviously your chosen instrument would be guitar, because that's what connects with you more. Maybe it's the piano. So you need to figure out how that works. Yeah. But piano is like the basic instrument that everybody is forced to learn when you go to a conservatory. Whether you are a violinist or a singer or whatever, piano is something that you must do to a foundation level. So it's a great place to start. Not the easiest place to start because good teachers are hard to find. Yes, sir. Yes.
So I for me, it was, I think one of the success.
Yeah.
How good music is.
True.
What's the sort of counter side to it? In the sense that logically, all good musicians, also good scientists, good,
Possibly can be.
they can be, but they're not, right?
Because they haven't chosen a different path in life.
It's not a zero. It's not a.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that you can have very good scientists and very good engineers and very good anything else without them being musicians.
Right.
At the same time, you can have people who are musicians who don't pursue it with other fields. I understand that it makes you better at it. I'm saying that it's not absolutely better.
I will answer your question after this video.
My name is Wright Pinson. I'm the Deputy Chief Executive Officer at Vanderbilt University Medical Center.
I'm Frank Fish. I'm a professor of pediatric cardiology at Vanderbilt Children's Hospital.
Well, the musician me is Susie Brown, and the doctor me is Dr. Brown Sachs. I'm a cardiologist, and I specialize in taking care of patients with advanced heart failure. And in the other time, I'm a singer-songwriter and a mom.
These days, I mostly play electric bass and some upright bass, playing a couple of bands that play some sort of modern jazz.
Music for me today is playing in a R&B band named Soul Incision.
I think the thing that music has given me is an outlet to just be completely myself.
Well, everybody loves music, at least some kind of music.
There are a lot of physicians that are good musicians. And I think it's because being a physician and being a musician tap into different parts of the right brain, left brain thing. I think you have a set of basic tenets that you begin with, but you apply them in a unique fashion to every patient the same as you would every new piece of music. And people often ask me, some patients that know that I play music, they say, well, what kind of music are you going to listen to during my case? And I say, none. I listen to your heart. I listen to what the heart's doing. I don't listen to other people's music. I'm listening to you.
Knowing discipline and knowing how to practice will help you do everything in your life. And I think actually that's why being a doctor and being a musician are sort of related. If you practice, you can learn to do just about anything. I mean, things that you thought were impossible, if you just set your mind to it and work at it, you can accomplish.
I would like to thank my music teacher for caring about me, the time and energy they put into it, and in particular, I really appreciate the patience that they showed.
If I could thank my music teachers now, it would be thanks very much for making me do it, because there were times that I didn't want to do the practice, learning technique and doing all the things that are necessary to make the music sound good to other people, not just good to yourself, was very important.
If a parent were to tell me that they thought music classes should be replaced by math or science or something more useful, I would say that in my own experience as someone who chose a career in the sciences, that I totally disagree. And that for me, I wish there had been more music in my education.
I think music education presently is vastly undervalued. To me, more than any of the other arts, music is something that just permeates us in a way that is the essence of our humanity. And I think to deprive kids the opportunity to be part of that is a crime. Maybe they're never going to be a professional musician, or maybe they're going to be a virtuoso. But if they're not handed that opportunity at an early age and find out that it's fun, or find out that they're exceptionally talented, that's never going to happen for them. And it has to happen in the schools. And as a community, as humanity, we owe it to our kids to be able to provide that opportunity at an early age and support and nurture that all the way through. I can't imagine not supporting music education.
I think that pretty much answered your question, but what I'm trying to tell you is being a musician is like a life skill. Like you learn how to ride a bicycle, you learn to swim, so you jump into the water, you survive, right? Your plane lands in the water, what are you going to do, right? So they're life skills. Music doesn't mean that you have to become a professional if you choose to go that way. Not at all. Yeah, right. Now to answer that question, these kids, like I have had a couple of cases like this. One case sitting right here. She's at IIT Gandhinagar, right? She did really well with her music. She did her grade 8 and everything with me. I've had Aditya, who did his diploma exam today while I'm here. And he scored, I think, 96% class 12, got into the top engineering college in Chennai, left it after 6 months as I want to do music. Came back to me and I said, well, you can do it. And the father was really worried about it. How are you going to make a career out of it? And I asked him, how much does an engineer make when they start the career? He said, about 5 lakh. I said, I can beat that right now. Teaching music, teaching piano, you can make that much. And the opportunities of becoming a professional musician, going out there and exploring your true potential, maybe you'll become the next Ed Sheeran, you never know, right? That's also there. So, yeah, I have more questions, please. Yeah, please. No, please.
No, I was just, sort of like, this people.
Yeah, true. Oh, yeah. Correct. But from my experience, I've seen a couple of students who did really well, exceedingly well in their class 12. One of my students who is studying at Trinity Laban Conservatory of Music, he scored 97 in class 12. He scored the rank number 1 in ECA auditions in Delhi, extracurricular activities. So now there's a combined audition, 13,000 people. He was ranked 1. He got into the top college, St. Stephen's there. He quit that college and went to pursue music. So they have a very viable career because they're very smart people, actually, but they choose to do music. If that was, yeah, I hope you, I hope I answered your question somewhere. More questions, please. Yes, please. Mhm. Mhm. Their basic skills in music to tap the pulse, to have the ability to discriminate pitch more accurately, those things are not developed very well. And it's harder to develop those abilities later in your life. 30, 40 is perfectly normal age. I'm talking about typically about 55 and above. Those are the places where somebody who has had some foundational training in music is still able to excel in that, learning a musical instrument at a later stage in life. But compared to somebody who has had no training in music whatsoever and has had no attention towards that music exists and I should be listening to it, or there's some skills that I need to develop, those people are the ones that struggle at a later stage. If they start learning at the age of 55, 60, 65, those are the ones that really struggle building their basic sense of rhythm and pulse. Rhythm is a more chronic area than the pitch, because pitch is ready made for you, at least on the piano. If you don't sing it, you can still play a C and sound a C there. But rhythm is a more critical area, which is like a problem area when you start later. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's fantastic. Thank you.